This video was supposed to come out for Christmas 2025, but then I caught the flu, and then I had family problems, which really delayed it, and I didn't have anywhere to record the video, and my voice was even worse than it sounds right now. So I've still made the video. I've decided to go ahead and continue making it, even though it's past Christmas at this point, and it's just Australian Christmas special, so there's that. Every year, every December, Christmas comes about, and people love watching movies. But other than that, Christmas shows sometimes get Christmas specials. In the long history of the world, since probably about the 1950s, shows have been airing Christmas episodes that revolve around the holiday, and it makes sense. It's a day when most of the family is going to be sat inside, most certainly around a television, just putting random stuff on so that you can try to make out whatever's being said while the family bicker about politics and we're going to lose the house. Now, from my expert research, it would appear that the first Christmas special of an existing series is Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. Now, I don't particularly care about Mr. Magoo or his Christmas Carol, but what's important is the trend he set. Back in the old days of British television, before the 2000s, you only really had about 3 channels, meaning what was on was important. There was no way to swap to something else, which put massive emphasis on what was played on Christmas, making 3 o'clock on Christmas Day the most covetous time slot for the entire year. Enter Doctor Who. In the bad days of the show, from the Kennedy assassination to until the DAS building bombing occurs in Bogota, killing 52 people and injuring about 1,000. You didn't get Christmas specials. The show was too concerned in making it to the next season and sticking pipe cleaners together with shitty glue sticks to make monsters. This would change for the better eventually after the series returned in 2005. The first series would conclude with the Doctor's regeneration into David Rockwell. But with only 20 seconds of footage of the new Doctor, how do we get to know what he's like? The answer came on Red Nose Day with a small short where the Doctor talks about Barcelona, but that still didn't show him off well, so we see him in that year's Christmas special. Ever since that year, Christmas specials have become a staple of the show on Christmas. In times where there was no season of the show, such as between 2008 and 2010, we get multiple specials in a row. This was until the writers just gave up and reduced the show seasons and got rid of the holly jolly spirit. So in total, we have 13 Christmas specials. That number does not include the 13th Doctor specials, only because I actually could not bring myself to finish Series 12, and this video is meant to be about how much I love this show. All these specials are going to be quite close to each other in terms of quality. Apart from the first 2, they are fucking terrible. I don't really hate any of these. Apart from the first 2, they are fucking terrible. You may take issue with me not ranking the Whittaker specials, but I never actually stated I was ranking them all. Only the ones I've actually watched, and I want to bring positivity in this dark time. The dark time is mine, not yours. Number 13, The Next Doctor. I think this is going to be the only commonly accepted take on this list. When you see my number 1, you're going to be like, that's it? To be honest, I don't really follow Doctor Who reviews, but from the little I do know no one really likes The Next Doctor. Doctor Who reviews are so negative, so fortunately I do have some positive points about it. Number 1! David Morrissey. Very entertaining as the Doctor, and he plays his role of overconfident dumbass really well. Number 2, the banter between the Doctor is really fun and does remind me of other Doctor crossovers. They're actually, showing multiple Doctors. And number 3, just this one bit.
Driver. I'd be lost without it.
But that's a screwdriver. How's it sonic?
Well, it makes a noise. That's sonic, isn't it? Now,
it makes me happy. But then there comes in the negatives, such as this episode's twist is entirely predicated on watching the special before the 11th Doctor is announced, and even still, almost anyone can see through the fake Doctor's gimmick, unless they're a super casual viewer who only knows that the Doctor regenerates and has never seen any other show in the long history of the world. And speaking of the twist, dear God, is the fake Doctor oblivious? At the start it's a funny joke, but it just gets stretched on for way too long of we're just waiting for the fake Doctor to realise he's talking to the real guy. And the Doctor isn't exactly subtle. What the fuck were they thinking with the Cybermen in this episode? They just act nothing like any other episode, creating those weird hybrid Cybermen and deciding to default to a human's ideas. They don't do that. They think all humans are wrong. They don't just trust them, let alone allow them to pilot a massive cybermech. And what did they hope to accomplish with the cybermech? Not the writers, the actual Cybermen. The Cybermen are little rats that hide and slowly grow in numbers, yet for some reason they kidnap children and go straight into Shadow of the Colossus. Number 12. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe now, so you have to take notes.
Take notes, there will be questions.
This episode causes great conflict inside me because on one hand, it has one of the most wholesome and wonderful openings of the show, showcasing the good in random people, ignoring Mr. Pointless crashing into the English Channel. It just feels so magical as the Doctor shows the children around his fantastical Roald Dahl-esque wonderland. But the scene is edited like a Grandpa in My Pocket episode with its rapid cuts and upbeat music. But all in all, I really like this episode from its opening, showing the Doctor on a, to us, microscopic detour until night falls on Uncle Digby's mansion, and then the sci-fi bit happens. I don't want to go back to Black Ops 3's campaign. The closest thing I can compare the middle of this episode to is the Blair Witch Project. It just feels so boring as the four characters walk around the forest and then all have to get used to the same concepts. There's a song story surrounding the family, but the actual adventure part in the alien world just drags on for too fucking long. And when the Madge pulls out a gun on the officers, it gets really good again, and it stays pink until the very end of the family's story, and the Doctor goes back to the ponds. Personally, I feel this moment would have had so much more emotional impact had the Ponds not known the Doctor was still alive. But through them knowing, the Christmas scene still makes me smile, but it gives a lackluster conclusion. Oh, also, it's weird seeing Alexander Armstrong doing literally anything other than pointless. He is just a pointless guy to me, and nothing can change that. Number 11, The Snowman. The Snowman isn't necessarily a bad episode, it just takes a darker tone than the rest. This could be attributed to being the start of Series 7B, which is already a darker series, and because of the Doctor's sulkier demeanour. In a way, it resembles The Woman Who Fell to Earth or Lucky Day, because it just feels like the introduction to a new Doctor. Sure, we are still seeing Matt Smith as number 11, but he's a changed man here. When I watch a Christmas special, I want to feel holly and jolly and happy, but the first half of The Snowman has the 11th Doctor as his faraway presence, done with adventuring. When the adventure actually gets started, around when the Doctor becomes Sherlock Holmes, it reminds me of why I love the 11th Doctor so much, with all of his autistic quirks. The costume department cooked so hard with this episode. Every character has this grand Victorian vibe to them, especially the Doctor. Now, his costume in The Snowman is technically different from his Series 7B regular, and that's okay. In fact, it's even great. The Doctor starts the episode sad and alone, yet this is the adventure that reconvinced him to get back into exploring again. And throughout the episode, as he slips more and more back into the joyous whimsy expected of him, he feels like a child waking up on Christmas, even if he just notices the bow tie. And it's the realization that Clara is Souffle Girl that finally convinced him he's back. He's found Christmas joy again. He's like Scrooge. Put this episode on the top of the list. But then he loses Clara. I mean, Clara's the driving force here. We mostly follow from her perspective, and she's the one who rescues the Doctor from his slump. But it's also her death that poisons the episode. The Snowman doesn't end on a particularly happy note. I mean,
Watch me run.
Number 10, forgive me, physician, but it's going to be The End of Time. Now, The End of Time, I was surprised to read was a Christmas episode. Now, looking back at it, of course it is, but I had just forgotten about it. I went back to rewatch it like I did with every other episode on this list, and that's when it struck me. Part 1 is indeed a Christmas episode. Now, Part 2, on the other hand, is just a finale that happened to be released on Christmas Day. Here's an example. The script for Part 1 has the word Christmas in it 18 times, which is a decent number for most of these. In contrast, the script for Part 2 has it occur not a single time. Where's my Christmas magic? Look, man, The End of Time is a massive undertaking to write about, so I'll give you the short version of my thoughts here. Love the Doctor at the start. I can't stress enough how often I've had that feeling when you talk to someone who just gives you a look of apathy, so you continue to name random shit, hoping it'll break the ice. The TARDIS getting looked like a car isn't funny at first, but is made so by the Doctor's assistant that it is funny, and just generally the Ood sequence is good. You know, I did forget the Master can straight up shoot lightning from his hands like Palpatine, or a Skyrim character shocking a homeless man. Oh, and he turns people into skeletons, like just straight up electrifies their skin off and only leaves the skeleton. I loved the Master in this episode. I found him much more entertaining than he was before, except for the whole live or die scene. That was fantastic. So you may realise that it seems to be that I actually loved this episode. And you'd be right, I do. It feels like an excellent setup to the 10th Doctor's finale. But to me, that's what brings this episode down so much. It really only works in the context of a setup for the End of Time Part 2. And therefore, it's far harder to justify watching this wacky Christmas special if you then need to watch the very sad and dramatic second part to feel finished with the story. Number 9, The Christmas Invasion. Now, this episode feels like it was written by Mark Gatiss. Not because it has a desolate feeling to it or it's shitty writing, but also because nothing fucking happens. Now, I can appreciate this episode, as it does so well in introducing Tennant as the 10th Doctor and giving a great banter between the Doctor and the assorted crew that gets transported to the Sycorax ship. And from that point onwards, the episode is completely, amazingly done, amazingly funny, and leaves you with the moral questions set by the Doctor at its conclusion. So I very much love the Sycorax portion. I think it's so effortlessly charming, but that constitutes like a third of the episode. The rest is just boring as Rose does her best to try and find out what's going on, and it feels boring. Then the Doctor wakes up to defeat the Christmas tree and it gets very good again, and then he goes back to sleep, and then you have to wait for the great part. Overall, an incredibly good episode during its conclusion, but the lack of Doctor and Doctor Who just shrouds this episode in mediocrity. Number 8, Voyage of the Damned. In case you haven't watched the show, this is the Space Titanic episode. My largest gripe with this episode comes down to the use of humans as being on another planet concurrently with Earth. This shit is peak, for real, for real. The action remains top-notch as the Titanic crashes and the people are thrown about randomly. Okay, not randomly, but they just jump to the left and right doing flips over tables. I think what goes against this episode is how the technology holds them back from telling the story they want to tell here. They definitely bit off more than they could chew since a massive cruise ship feels more like an 11th Doctor plot, when in actuality it's a 12th Doctor plot. I'd say this is probably the last Christmas special before the show became fancy in HD. Well, actually, that was Planet of the Dead, but the next special looks significantly better, so this whole episode could have been better if it had the CGI of something like Wild Blue Yonder. It's fun to see the way other species view humans and have an incredibly small amount of knowledge on them. Even the Doctor is guilty of this. Oh, and the episode itself is a fun journey around a futuristic Titanic as it's sabotaged by the company's leader, which causes the ship to crash into and explode London. Number 7, A Christmas Carol. The time travel show meets the original time travel story, and it is amazing. The design of the city on the ground might just be this episode's greatest achievement. It looks so wonderful, partly due to how you have to see a lot of it, because the episode centers on the skies above the city, both with the Doctor convincing the miser as well as the, ship about to crash into the surface. But how does the ship stay up for that long? Because it seems to be minutes away from crashing, yet the special is about 50 minutes left until it lands. And I get it's a petty gripe, but the competition here is fierce, and it's due to those small critiques that make episodes go up or down a place. Yeah, the competition is fierce in my Doctor Who Christmas ranking. This twist was amazing, blew me away, completely stunned, amazing reveal. Sardick is a Sardick, yet that makes him entertaining. A complete Scrooge allegory, yet unlike Scrooge, his backstory actually feels warranted. Did you know in the original book, he only talks about his father in one line? We don't get any justification for why Scrooge turned out the way he did, and that is why this is the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol ever. Fuck you, Gonzo. Number 6, Husbands of River Song. This episode locks in straight away with the action, and it does not let up until the end. I really do love the Husbands of River Song. It does a great job at introducing Nardole, bring the Doctor back after losing Clara for the last time. Like all of these episodes, it's so damn funny.
Just a thought, you probably shouldn't do that in a restaurant.
So it's very good, but it sort of suffers from the problem that plagues the next Doctor, the complete obliviousness of River Song, but I can excuse it because the episode is just so good that there's nothing to criticize. Number 5, Time of the Doctor. This episode is a lot like The End of Time in that we see the end of one of the lives of the Doctor. However, unlike those episodes, Time of the Doctor maintains its Christmas heart till the very end. Even the town the episode revolves around is known as Christmas. Now, fun fact, when I was rewatching the, you don't care. It's Christmas. The episode itself, a very good end to the 11th Doctor and a great Christmas special at the same time. As a defender of Trenzalore, the Doctor becomes an inspiration to the town of Christmas, and as their protector, he becomes the opposite of the Doctor of War. He stays to help the people even when he can run, and yet he never does. I think the episode is paced so amazingly well. I thought it was going to be really boring going back into it, but no, it's good. Just when I thought the episode would start to slow down after the Doctor defeats the wooden Cybermen, Clara gets sent back to him, and the conversation turns into this massive siege, and that turns into this war. And we get this fantastic shot of the Doctor, which perpetuates the 11th Doctor's obsession with canes. Never noticed it? It's been there for a while, even earlier in this video. But in terms of problems, I do get the feeling that the angel scene was added in entirely to add an extra action scene to the episode. And if the church has been taken over by the Daleks, then how come they fight for the Doctor at Trenzalore? And why am I bringing it up? To reuse that clip. Number 4, The Runaway Bride. I have few words to describe why this is the greatest of the 10 specials. Christmas specials, that is, because nothing will ever beat the genius and fear instilled of Waters of Mars. But if I write about The Runaway Bride, it goes a little something like this. There's a lot of action here, like Husbands of Ever Song, and that causes it to be very fun to view, especially in the first half. It's low-stakes action that works really well to be played in the background of a family dinner, and unlike Husbands of Ever Song, is very approachable to people who haven't seen the series before, because when Donna meets the Doctor, she serves as a foot in the door for the audience to understand the weird world of the Doctor's life. The Doctor here, he's such a little sleuth using all his little gadgets to research what's going wrong, and it's so fun. Even when he stops, Tennant does such a good job at making the Doctor feel like an outsider at Donna's reception. This episode is so funny as well. I guess that comes with having an actual professional comedian in Catherine Tate portray Donna, but parts like the W.H. Smith on Earth scene and when Donna arrives back at her wedding put a stupid grin on my shattered visage. The Doctor and Donna work really well here as well as in that way. They don't have an unnecessary romance plot shoved in. This, of course, extends to Series 4 in total, with the Doctor Donna being just good friends. I don't like when the show says young man and young woman. Yeah, I ship it. And that sort of contributed to what makes Peter Capaldi my favourite Doctor. Speaking of... Number 3, The Return of Dr. Mysterio. So remember those brain monsters from the Husbands of Riversong? You know, with the...
Just a thought, you probably shouldn't do that in a restaurant.
Well, they were setting up the return of Dr. Mysterio. It's so wholesome watching Grant's origin story as the Doctor finds errors in all of Grant's comic books, and when they head to the roof, the Doctor is genuinely teaching this kid about distant galaxies and the weapon forges of Villengard. It's all just very fun. That's how I describe this special in one word. Fun. It doesn't bring down the vibe with sad moments, but rather keeps everything as a fun, amazing adventure. I'm repeating myself, aren't I? Also, it's nice to actually see the Doctor use the best Sonic some more, since it doesn't really get much use in the next season. They seem to have forgotten about it.
So, Doctor, you think this is over?
Yeah. Your bomb's gone? Yeah.
Number 2.
Blackpool Beach, bank holiday.
I so fucking love Last Christmas. This was what I knew going into this was going to be at the top, even before I'd actually rewatched any episodes. Now, some of these I liked far more than when I first saw them, and others I just lost points to being boring. But Last Christmas and Dr. Mysterio were as good as I remembered them being. Can I talk about how great Last Christmas is? Because everybody seems to like it at the very least, racist grandfathers included. But nobody ever dares to call it an amazing episode. But it is that, a dark, twisted Christmas story with these innovative crab brain creatures and sick-ass Capaldi and family trauma. And Nick Frost is just an amazing guest star. The previous episode, you don't care, it's Christmas. Last Christmas is so amazingly paced as well. It never really feels boring, and the Doctor's so funny with his...
Help it! Danny Pink! What is Danny Pink up to right now? He's probably flirting with your neighbour or texting women of low moral character.
I've noticed it's very hard for me to actually write about any of these things in great detail, but rest assured this episode is bowler. It's also the best Easter special. Oh my god, Twice Upon a Time is so fucking perfect. When I went into this video, I knew that the Capaldi episodes were generally going to be considered my favourite, but I thought it was going to be Last Christmas that topped the list. dear God, was I so wrong. I can't put into words just how much I resonate with this episode. It has so many amazing moments. None of it feels wasted at any point, and dear God, the first Doctor's back with Waits. They're inexcusable, but really damn funny. The Doctor goes to great lengths to save both the Captain, who he doesn't even know yet, and Bill, because he's become so much greater since Death in Heaven. He's no longer a normal man. He's become the true saviour, the overwhelming force of good in a bleak universe, and that's why I love this show. That's what it means to be a Doctor of War. Also, the costume fucking rocks. He's gone through so much in such a short amount of time. He's had no break. You really understand why he might want to give up and die, but he knows people need him, and that's why he has to keep going on. Also, this scene made me so cry. It's just so perfect and so painful to say goodbye to the 12th Doctor. It's become so much better, but in the end, he has to do it. And then the show becomes like 5 times worse, but positivity.